Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Susan McGuire, Manager of Professional Development at ACCE, and I'm happy to welcome you to the second in our Chamber of the Year Award winner series, From the Winner's Circle. Today we'll hear from John Brewer, Jennifer Reiser, and Kelly McCandless of the Billings, Montana Chamber of Commerce, who will talk to us about their award-winning Chamber of the Future Defining Tomorrow program. Before I turn the program over to John, Jennifer, and Kelly, we do have a few housekeeping notes. First, attendees are in listen-only mode during the webinar to avoid background noise. Second, we will have time for questions at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, please ask them using the question function of the webinar. The question box is on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your question, and I'll read the question to our panelists. If we run out of time and don't get to your question, or if you have a question that you would prefer to discuss with the panelists offline, we'll get in touch with you after the webinar. The panelists' contact information is also on a slide at the end of the webinar, so you should feel free to contact them directly if you'd prefer. And third, the webinar is being recorded and should be up on the ACCE website on the ACC University webinar page within the next few days. We'll also have the presentation materials available for download as well. So please look for those on our website within the next few days. So with that, I would like to introduce our speakers for today. John Brewer is President and CEO of the Billings, Montana Chamber of Commerce, which has a 5-star accreditation rating through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The Billings Chamber represents about 1,200 businesses, employing 44,000 people in the Billings region. The Chamber developed and manages the Billings Tourism Business Improvement District and Visit Southeast Montana, a tourism region consisting of 13 counties and 2 Indian reservations. John currently serves on the ACCE Board of Directors and is a Certified Association Executive through the American Society of Association Executives. He is past chair of the Montana Association of Chamber Executives and serves on the U.S. Chamber's Committee of 100. Before moving to Billings, John was the president and CEO of the Spokane, Washington Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau. He has a BA degree in Communication Arts from the University of West Florida. He and his wife, Carrie, have 4 children, Micah, Elijah, Braden, and Danielle. Jennifer Reiser is the Chief Operating Officer with the Billings Chamber of Commerce and has been with the Chamber since 2011. Her primary duties include leading the membership team, leadership and organizational development, and guiding Billings Next Gen, Billings Emerging Leaders Group. Before coming to the Chamber, Jennifer spent 18 years working in environmental public health, focusing primarily on workforce recruitment and leadership development. Jennifer will graduate from the U.S. Chamber West Institute in July 2016. And Kelly McCandless is the Communications Manager for the Billings Chamber of Commerce, where she directs the marketing and messaging for all aspects of the organization. She also serves as the Leisure Marketing Manager for the Chamber's tourism arm, Visit Billings. Born and raised in Billings, Kelly loves working towards community growth and progress. She serves on several local boards and has a passion for yoga, organization, and food. She holds Bachelor of Arts degrees in Mass and Organizational Communication from Montana State University, Billings. She and her husband, Ryan, have 2 sweet girls, Riley and Lila. So thank you again, John, Jennifer, and Kelly, for presenting today, and take it away.
Well, thank you, Susan, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm John, and first of all, thank you, ACCE, for sponsoring this webinar series. And we're just very pleased to be joining you today to talk about our Billings Chamber of the Future Defining Tomorrow initiative. Our focus at the Billings Chamber is to connect, grow, and advocate on behalf of our members. We have a staff of 14 who lead our strategic initiatives, our legislative agenda, our tourism efforts, and our business connections program. The Chamber of Commerce brand, as many of you know, is 417 years old. The Billings Chamber is 125 years old. So there's a great deal of brand equity in the name, but also, in our opinion, some antiquated perceptions. Our goal is to continually reinvent ourselves to meet the needs of our community and our members. And this is an exercise that we go through each year as staff to explore where the chamber is in our organization's life cycle. So looking at this chart, we're well past, at the Billings Chamber, the startup phase, and we feel that we're not at the stabilizing or, thankfully, the downward dying slope, but we need to be sure that we have a path set for future growth. The Billings Chamber is in the top 1% of U.S. chambers, as Susan said, with our 5-star U.S. Chamber accreditation rating. We've never been more fiscally sound, growing our revenue from about $800,000 to $4.5 million in just a few short years. We have a record number of members, and our membership satisfaction rating has never been higher. So the question we asked ourselves in 2013, at the end of 2013, was, how do we position ourselves to address the needs of our members well into the future? The Chamber of the Future Defining Tomorrow initiative was designed to, 1, examine our organization from top to bottom, and 2, to understand the changing business environment and our regional economy. The first step was to engage the entire board in the process so that they would take ownership in the outcome from the onset. Most board members became highly engaged in this process by leading one task group or subcommittee throughout the process. And once they became invested with their time, we reached out and asked them to financially help this initiative as well, and to develop a fund with us that raised a few $1,000s to help promote this initiative. So we set a 1-year timeline to define our future and deliver the following by our annual meeting. First of all, the strategic plan to include community-changing initiatives and specific and tangible projects, services, and events that clearly align with our members' needs. A second deliverable was the adjustment to our governance structure that would result in remarkable leadership that would enable us to deliver our new initiatives in a timely and effective manner. Third would be an updated and targeted membership sales and retention plan. And lastly, a thorough examination and report for adjustments to our revenue stream. So we divided this project into 3 phases, the first being one of exploration. We, the staff, as well as the board of directors, were on a mission to gather feedback, scan our environment, examine high-performance chambers, and analyze a great deal of data. We began the process at a staff and board meeting by asking the question, why do we exist? We developed this culture encouraging staff and board to question everything we do and the reason for doing it.
As part of this exploration phase, Height Performance Group was retained to collect feedback about our chamber from various stakeholders. This process included an online survey for current, former, and prospective members, and phone interviews with key community leaders. Kathy Height also worked with our membership team to evaluate our membership retention plan and recruitment practices. This thorough analysis of our membership included membership size and market share, membership revenue, first and second year retention rates, cancellations for the past 5 years, and a retention audit that looked for trends in every aspect of our membership, including number of employees, industry, and join date. A comparative analysis with other chambers was conducted through the ACC Operations Survey. This was a great resource allowing us to benchmark our membership, revenue, board operations, and staffing with other chambers.
So continuing this exploration mission that we were on, we engaged a respected statewide economist to provide an environmental scan and to offer his thoughts on our regional economy. We then developed our very first inner-city visit that was branded as an aspirational city visit and leadership exchange. We chose a chamber in a city with qualities that we wanted to learn from and attributes that we wanted to aspire to. Several niche focus groups were convened and asked their opinion on how to improve their community and their chamber. We reached out to our young professionals. Since we're building a community here and a chamber to serve them in part, we wanted to make sure their voice was heard loud and clear. We brought together members who paid dues but were not involved in the chamber, major investors of our organization. We brought in small businesses as well as past members of our board of directors. We then developed a Futures Council consisting of a community and business leaders who served as a sounding board to assist in drafting key strategic plan elements. Survey results Focus group takeaways and consultant research were then vetted through this group. So another crucial element to our future success would be the ability to act quickly and efficiently on policy, strategic initiatives, and day-to-day issues. This required a deep dive into our governing documents, including our bylaws and policies. We evaluated our board size and our committee effectiveness. Race for Relevance, a book by Cover and Bears, provided a really nice framework for this discussion on this topic.
A thorough evaluation of our programs included the goal of increasing revenue. We used the ACC Revenue Models White Paper as a reference and customized it to meet our needs. 7 task groups were formed, led by members of the board, and each containing board members, staff, and members at large. The Dues Revenue Task Group used data collected by Kathy Height and reviewed current member benefits, identified gaps, and revised the tiers to resonate more with the values and interests of different membership segments. All events and programs were evaluated based on venue, programming, attendance, and net revenue. Current affinity programs were evaluated, and new non-dues revenue member benefit opportunities were explored, including the use of a total resource campaign. We reviewed the option of re-implementing an optional fee on annual dues invoices to support public policy work. The possibility of establishing a 501c3 foundation was explored. We currently have strategic management agreements with the Montana Office of Tourism, Billings Tourism Business Improvement District, and Visit Southeast Montana Tourism. These partner agreements were reviewed, including expenses, reimbursements, and administrative support.
Then came time to roll it all out, which is where chamberlistens.com came in. This was the consumer-facing part of the initiative. We set up a website to collect ideas on the future of our community and on the Chamber. The website was anonymous and open-ended, although we were able to curate the submissions. We promoted this through massive grassroots PR efforts on local media and through some paid advertising. We also took the show on the road and presented to dozens of service clubs and left behind comment cards to collect feedback. We invested in promotional items like notepads, branded water bottles, pens, etc., to create a presence at meetings and every chamber function that we held. Our staff and board lived and breathed this effort, and the bottom line is that we listened to anyone willing to contribute to the project.
So now that we had our well-vetted analysis of the research and data through our Futures Council, we were ready to bring it all together and produce the deliverables. The first being a revolving 5-year strategic plan. The driving criteria for the plan were to have initiatives that had the greatest impact to our members and could be realistically acted upon by the Chamber in a way that would make a difference. Strategic items had to be measurable with specific timelines, clearly defined, and be accompanied by an action plan. The strategic objectives that quickly rose to the top through all of our research and community engagement were 1, the need to recruit and grow existing talent. Unemployment in the Billings area is currently 2.8%. We partnered with a number of groups to create what is now known as Billings Works. Secondly, we learned the value of place and the importance of improving our quality of life to attract and retain talent, new business, and millennials. We developed action plans to improve air service, potentially build a new convention center, invest in cultural heritage and trail development. Additional strategic objectives that came out of this research involved strengthening our tourism, sports, and convention recruitment, public policy issues, and enhancing the value to our members through a jobs board, creating a young professionals group, now called Next Gen, and much more. Our deliverables under remarkable governance were numerous policy and bylaw changes. The governance task force, chaired by the chair of our board, determined that a somewhat smaller board of 17 would be more efficient and that board meetings should focus about 60% of our agenda time on strategic initiatives. The task group developed a plan to cross-pollinate our executive committee with standing committees and boards throughout Billings to foster more reliable and effective communications. So this was probably one of the more crucial and in some cases the true definition of growing pains as we went through this process. We developed a transition plan to align our financial resources and our staff talent to the appropriate strategic initiatives and our core functions. In some cases, that meant realignment of job duties, job titles, and even merging of positions. Lastly, we realigned all committees and task groups with our strategic priorities. And this gives you a snapshot of that. A few of the committees we had were sunset, some were modified, but all had to serve a purpose, as shown in this diagram, by aligning with our strategic plan.
Based on our evaluation, some of our events were combined and several were eliminated. We have dramatically increased our emphasis on overall production value and attendance building. From fiscal year 14 to 15, we saw an increase in nearly $39,000 in event net revenue. We implemented an optional 10% strategic contribution on annual dues invoices, initially earmarked to support our public policy work. That resulted in $15,000 in revenue. We are committed to developing a hybrid total resource campaign that will be administered by staff with support from a core group of volunteers. Restructuring of volunteer groups and development of this program is ongoing. We ultimately decided not to pursue the creation of a 501c3 foundation. And the most significant portion of this growth plan hinged on new member sales, migration, and retention. Using Kathy Height's member profile matrix shown here, we established that each level of membership should provide specific access to people, information, and resources, and not necessarily more of the same the higher one invests. Our membership recruitment and retention plans were revised to incorporate the why members joined and emphasize the benefits that directly relate to that specific member's reason for joining. We maintained our 6-tier levels, but worked on developing membership benefits at each level to specifically meet the needs of different groups of members. We initiated an overall increase in tier pricing and established an annual 3% automatic dues increase. We increased our focus on migration and market penetration, developed an organizational and committee structure to better support our sales efforts, and invested in new membership collateral that better describes each level. Overall, these changes have resulted in an increase in revenue of $143,000 to date.
So then came time to pull all of these pieces together and launch the project and get it integrated into our plan of action. So we built this effort up so much that a flashy, impactful launch not only made sense, it was really necessary. During our annual meeting, we presented some of the major takeaways to our membership, and we launched NextGen, the Young Professionals group we've talked about, and connected the commitment to young professionals with a dynamic, influential speaker who talked about breaking down generational barriers. Afterward, we really put our money where our mouth is. We began implementing all of our changes, developing new materials for members, and continued our roadshow to showcase our results and educate the community on what was new and what we'd done differently.
We felt it was really important to go back to original focus groups and have them be some of the first to weigh in and celebrate our new strategic plan. And throughout this process, we continuously worked with our new and existing staff by communicating both expectations and progress. You may be familiar with Dr. Spencer Johnson's book, Who Moved My Cheese? We did several exercises with our team to demonstrate that although change isn't easy, it can be fun and that it ultimately could bring something better.
So how do things look now about a year after the launch? Well, dues revenue obviously isn't the only gauge, but it sure is an important one in our world. The upward migration of members with their dues investment, along with a net increase in total members, shows a great trajectory for us. This chart shows a dues revenue on an annual basis from 1995 through today. And just another way to look at that same data, in the past year and a half, as Jennifer said, dues has increased $143,000. And this is a direct result of our strategic engagement with issues that were deemed vital by our members and the community, such as you see on the screen there: workforce development, air service, cultural connectivity to our Yellowstone Kelly interpretive site project. And the last time we saw something similar to this spike was in 2006, when we rebranded and launched a handful of other community initiatives involving K through 12, sports facilities, and tourism promotions. So I think the value of this slide just shows the impactfulness of these significant community projects that we've been engaged in and how they directly correlate to membership growth and revenue. So as the Billings Chamber was in a discovery and kind of a rebirth mode, ACCE was in the midst of researching what would become the Horizons Initiative. Included in our strategic plan is a commitment to continued growth and improvement by immersing ourselves in the 8 influences. As an example, this past year, the Chamber Board and our staff retreat both focused on understanding the influences more and acting on those opportunities. We've been watching the videos, circulating those, and continue to have discussions on excellence and connecting these 8 influences to our organization today.
So what does the Chamber of the Year honor mean to us as an organization? First, to provide just a little bit more background, our application also included the extensive work that we've done revitalizing and connecting the trail system in Billings. This is a means toward improving quality of life and adding to our business and talent recruitment toolbox. These 2 projects made for a pretty great application, if I do say so myself, and elevated us in the eyes of our community and our region. As soon as we returned from Montreal, we worked to develop a marketing and communication plan, which included celebrations with our members at our annual meeting, a proclamation through our mayor, media appearances, including the cover of our quarterly business magazine, a special section that was put out by our local newspaper, a series of ads, articles, radio walkthroughs, and of course we used our website, social channels, etc. to really shout it from the rooftop. We also implemented the Chamber of the Year logo on all of our marketing materials, from business cards and emails to actually looking to install it in our boardroom and other ways to elevate it. We are shouting it out and ensuring that everyone hears how thankful we are for all of the contributions to the process, not to mention thanking our staff, our visionary board, and past board. Internally, it's been a major lift as well. Staff feels a strong sense of pride in knowing that what they are doing not only competes with work being done across the country, but it is actually some of the best. Longtime staff take ownership in the building process and success, while newer team members are enthused to be part of a nationally recognized organization, and we're all eager to build on the win. Our membership, businesses, and the entire community have a deeper appreciation for what we do. People really want to be in on our momentum, and we want to keep it going. It's been an amazing process for all of us.
So thank you. We're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you so much, John, Jennifer, and Kelly, for that great presentation and for including information on the follow-up, the 1 year later, and also on the impact of the Chamber of the Year process. So if anyone has any questions, now's the time to type them in the question box on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Go ahead and do so, and I will read them off to our panelists. One question we did have, and you may have mentioned it earlier, could you just repeat how many staff members you have and how many members you have?
We currently have 14 staff members, fully staffed right now, and 1,188 members that employ 44,000 people.
Okay. And then we also had a question on if you can say what was the cost to hire Kathy or have her involved in the process?
That's a great question. You're pulling our brains from a couple of years back on that one. She was well worth it is the answer I would have, whatever that price was. She did a fantastic job for us and continued to offer complimentary webinars and assistance throughout our process and was always available for questions. I apologize, I don't have that number in front of me right now.
Yeah, she is awesome, and she has done several webinars for ACCE. If you all are interested in her insights and information, you can search our webinar page, and she also has a short e-course as well.
And we'd be happy to respond via email. If somebody wanted to email us that question, we can dig that up and find out what we paid.
Okay. What kind of, let me see, I lost the question here. What kind of participation rate do you have in the optional dues increase?
So we have a flat dues structure at each of our 6 tiers, and we had a strategic 10% optional fee contribution that would be aligned with our strategic items. The percentage, I don't recall, it was about $14,000 of revenue that came in, and I don't have that percentage. It was probably in the 20% range.
Okay. And then a related question is, how much is your average dues?
Average dues is right around $500.
Okay. What is your membership saturation? How many businesses are there in your region versus how many are members?
Right. So our penetration rate's right under 20%, just at about 18.5%, 19% last time we checked, again, about a year ago, going through the benchmarking process with ACCE, right around 19.
Okay. What was the total cost of your project, and what was the cost versus return percentage?
The ROI is a tough one. The cost, we were able to get a lot of in-kind. We do a monthly radio program, Chamber Chat. They donated a series of 30-second spots for us, as did a couple of other radio organizations in town. We have a strong partner in our local newspaper, and they gave us a tremendous discount. Our primary costs went toward printing and promotional items. As far as it was under. Total was about $5,000 because we did leverage. It was about $5,000 that the board contributed in that fund that I mentioned earlier. So the board chipped in around $5,000 to develop that kitty, and we didn't exceed that, and we're able to leverage that with a lot of in-kind.
Okay. What changes, if any, were made to internal systems? For example, membership management systems, IT, financial, and so on, as part of this initiative, this new strategic plan?
We actually didn't make any changes in those systems. We just found ways to better utilize the existing. So our membership management software had the tools that we needed in order to look at at-risk members or member engagement, being able to pull the data that I mentioned earlier in terms of reasons why members joined. There's space for that. We just weren't fully utilizing it at the time. So we didn't really make any changes. We just better utilized what we had.
Okay. There's 2 sort of related questions. The first is, who were the drivers of the strategic planning process, staff or board? And then the second is, do you have any tips or best practices to help get board engagement?
It was really driven hand in hand by staff and the board. We did not require, but the executive committee meets every month, and part of answering question number 2 is we've got a very dedicated executive committee, and we talked about this opportunity and this initiative at some length, and they were able to buy in early, the early engagers there, and then worked with the full board to align them with their interests in participating in committees and task groups. So as far as the overall strategic plan, it was primarily myself and the chair of the board, but really everybody had ownership in one component of it or another. For instance, Kelly was collecting the online feedback and analyzing that information. Everybody had a role to kind of be that partner in this continuous feedback loop of information that we were gathering. And when it boiled down to it, vetting the information and presenting it to our Futures Council, the chair of the board and myself did a lot of the fine-tuning to present that.
Okay. Here's another question relating to the board. How many board members did you have before trimming it to 17, and was that a difficult process?
No, we had 21 to begin with, so it wasn't a significant reduction, down from 21 to 17, and we simply let it happen as they, through attrition, as they would term out of the board, we wouldn't replace them. So our bylaws still allow for 6 or 7 additional seats. We've just consciously made the decision to keep it at the size it is right now.
Okay. Can you explain your chamber's roadshows in more detail? What's involved with those?
So we really approach those roadshows, as we call them, really from every angle we can. We try and leverage those in-kind opportunities John was talking about by working with our member radio stations, with our local publishers who put out newspapers or magazines, with our television news partners. We just work with, using those relationships to get in front of the community in the outlying area to share our message. In addition, we've got some membership contracts that allow for advertising as part of the membership agreement. So we utilize those ads to get the message out via print. And then, like I mentioned, just utilizing every possible channel that we own as a chamber to brand, to get our brand out there and to lift our message up, basically.
Okay. Here's a question about program and event revenue. Is this from ticket sales or sponsorships? And how and who handles sponsorships? It's a big question, but
okay.
Ticket.
So the first to answer the first part, it does include both ticket sales and sponsorships. We looked at the last 8 years of our events, and we looked at kind of the purpose of the event. Was it really a fundraiser, or was it more about just engaging our members? We looked at the venues, looked at the type of programming, the speakers that we were bringing in. We did increase our sponsorships. We went big 3 years ago and decided that our annual chamber breakfast, we rebranded it, and we brought in Archie Manning as a speaker. We last year brought in Damon John from Shark Tank, and this year we have Captain Sullenberger that landed the plane on the Hudson as our speaker. So we took a leap of faith somewhat and decided that we would change the venue, increase our attendance, and put more dollars out there to get more high quality speakers. In doing so, we had to turn to our member investors and ask for increased dollars in sponsorships. It's been a really interesting thing, and it's taught us that don't be afraid to ask. People are willing to contribute to things that are either important to them or happen to align at a time that they want to get in front of the community. So we now ask for $15,000 for a title sponsorship, and we're able to find it.
Okay. How many signature events do you have each year, such as a golf outing, business expo, or an award dinner?
We have 4 major events. We have our annual meeting, we have an agriculture appreciation banquet, we have our chamber breakfast, and then our Trailhead Classic golf tournament. We used to have an annual awards banquet, and that was one that really wasn't making us any money, didn't really have a ton of participation. And so that was an event that we decided to eliminate. However, we continued with the Business Excellence Awards and now integrated those into some of our other events. So they're given at the Ag Appreciation Banquet, the Agriculture Excellence Award is given. Several of our business awards are presented at the Chamber's annual breakfast. We do our Lifetime Achievement Award recipient at our annual meeting. So instead of doing a separate event for those, we just combined them with some others.
Okay. A little while ago, you answered a question relating to the cost of the program, and you mentioned volunteer contributions. And here's a question. Did you outline the strategic issues the volunteer contribution went towards and how those dollars were allocated and respective ROI?
Good question. No, we have a set-aside line item in our budget for strategic initiatives and this optional fee. And on each invoice, it states that a 3% option will be dedicated toward our strategic initiatives, such as, and then we list our top 6 initiatives in that, without any promise to any one specific dedication.
Okay. And a follow-up on the events, do you have monthly luncheons?
We do not. We have considered that and actually budgeted for it this year, but it has not been something that we've been able to put together at this point.
Okay. And then we have a couple questions on what membership software you utilize.
We currently work with Chamber Data Systems and use their ccassist.net version.
Okay. Economic development. Do you work in the economic development space in your area as the recognized economic development organization of record? And if not, is there another organization that does that?
There is an external organization. Big Sky Economic Development is the county authority for EDC work, and we partner with them very close. We are the CVB and manage the tourism region of Southeast Montana, but we do have an independent, separate EDC that is its own 501c6.
Okay. And then finally, we have a question about getting a copy of the presentation, and absolutely, I will post a copy of this excellent presentation along with the recording of the webinar on the ACC University webinar page, and that should be available sometime in the next day or two, hopefully tomorrow. So I think that's all the questions we have for now. Just a few reminders. The Chamber of the Year process for 2016 has begun, and the first deadline for any chamber wishing to apply is to complete ACCE's Dynamic Chamber Benchmarking Survey by February 26th. And if you'd like more details about this requirement and the entire Chamber of the Year process, you can find it at www.acce.org/COY. And then finally, our next ACC webinar will be on Thursday, February 25th, so a week from today, and will be on the topic of elected official scorecards. Panelists Robert Medler, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Tucson Metro Chamber, and Glenn Oppel, Director of Government Relations at the Montana Chamber, will discuss their own scorecards, and we'll talk about how to develop and use them to promote your chamber's policy agenda and assist your members. So I think that's it. Thank you, John and Jennifer and Kelly, for that wonderful presentation, and thank all of you for your thoughtful questions. We really appreciate it. Again, look for the recording of the webinar in the next day or so, and have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.